Awesome. All right, we're in action. I'm Stacie Ysidro, and I'm here with one of my favorite people, Gigi, and we are going to talk about some uncomfortable things. And the reason why I wanted to have this conversation is because so many people email me and ask me questions about sexual health and about what happens if I find out I have something or I find out my partner has something. So first, I'm going to let you introduce yourself, Gigi.
Yay. Thanks for having me.
Yes.
It's fun. Great. Hi, everyone. I'm Gigi, and I have been talking about sexual health and educating people for really a long time. I'm a curvy girl. I am queer and I have herpes and I have immense amounts of pleasure in my life, and I want that for everyone. And so, yeah, that's what I do. Sexual health is very important to me, and for me, it's not just about genital health, but we're going to talk about that. It's about the whole spectrum of like who you are and what are your beliefs and what are your values and what is your communication style. And so all of it goes into creating a dynamic life of pleasure. Yeah, and I don't think it's hard. I think it's maybe uncomfortable, but I try not to feel like it's hard because that's just me.
Yeah, thank you for
But I
that.
know
You know,
it's hard for a lot of people, and
in the
my
beginning,
mhm, yeah.
yeah, like it's hard until it isn't anymore, and it's uncomfortable till it isn't anymore. So why should we be having this conversation with our partners or potential partners about sexual health?
Yeah, I mean, because you're important. I mean, to me, your body, your system, your life is worthy of knowing and having consent around what's happening with it. In my personal opinion, that's part of my sexual values. So sexual values, I know, is a big thing that you do, but it's like, why do you believe what you believe? Where did it come from? Is it really yours? And getting really clear on what's important to you. And so genital health may or may not be important to someone, and we need to just realize that my beliefs states might be different than your beliefs, might be different than everyone else's beliefs. And if genital health is important to you, like it is to me, then the person I am about to engage with, if it's not important to them, that I get to have consent around how do I choose to interact with this person. Does that make sense?
Yeah, what I'm hearing you say is that it's about honoring ourselves and our own body and getting to know um, our own values and beliefs around sex and sexual health and having the ability to consent to who we actually want to interact with. And when we consent, we can be like fully free and open. But when this piece isn't addressed or acknowledged, then there's still a feeling of like separation or walls up or barriers that, it can create fear.
Yeah, or even like it is addressed, but then we don't know how to, like, quote unquote, deal with it. So for example, if you start going out with someone and you're like, wow, they're dreamy, I really really like this person, um, but you don't want to have the conversation, but it's important to you, and then you don't, and then something happens, like it can cause a lot of stuff if people are just open about it in the beginning. It's helpful. And then my big thing is like, do you know what's really true and important for you? So I have herpes, and a lot of people are like, ooh, I don't want that. And my question is, cool, why? Like, I lean in, I want to know, what is it that you think about herpes? What is it that you believe? And I'm not trying to like coerce anyone to be like, oh, it's not a big deal. It's a curiosity of, do you know why? Right? Do you think it's dirty because that's what you were taught? Do you have shame around it? Do you think you can die from it? Do you, like, what is the belief around herpes that you have that would cause you to say no? right? Which is great.
Yeah.
Like, I honor everyone's no. I just have a lot of curiosity of like, cool, tell me, right? Like, I had one partner who was like, I have a massive immune disorder, and and herpes and immune systems and nervous systems all like to play together. And so it's like, oh, cool. I love that there was clarity that I don't want to compromise my already compromised immune system. And it was cool. And so it's like, cool, then what can we do? Right? What
Yeah,
can
it opens up to other possibilities
we?
and options.
Yeah. And I think that's the other thing I love to remind people is that a no is a no. Like, we honor everyone's no. And then what's the next question? A no doesn't mean, okay, see ya, bye-bye. It can, but it's like, no. And it's like, oh, cool, there's a boundary. So what can we do? Like, can we put saran wrap all over my body and have you still like play with my body? Or is that still feel edgy for you? You know?
Yeah,
Oh,
it gives you an
no.
opportunity to get creative.
Yeah, boundaries are my favorite thing for exactly that. Creativity, possibility. When there's the edge, when there's the place to play.
Yeah, because then we can experience freedom within those bounds.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, boundaries to me really do create freedom and consent and like just the knowing. The knowing. And I agree with what you say, Stacie. Like, in the beginning, if there's something going on with your genital health that feels uncomfortable, and that's stigma and shame from society, right? Like, this society carries a lot of stigma around herpes, chlamydia, gonorrhea, AIDS, and now COVID, right? Like, this conversation actually is the conversation we need to be having around COVID. Like, what do you believe? Are you a mask wearer or a not? Do you believe it's real? Do you not? Do you want to be careful? Do you not? Are you comfortable going into a restaurant where no one has a mask on, but you're a mask wearer? Or do you take the mask off because you're embarrassed? Like, having these conversations around how we navigate in the world is literally the same as the herpes or gonorrhea or chlamydia, genital health, AIDS conversation. Um, and like, you can die from COVID, and it's very, very, very rare that you can die from herpes. And it seems easier to have like the COVID conversation, kind of, except I'm noticing a lot of people aren't even talking about that, than it is the genital health conversation. Just so funny to me. Like,
Yeah, it is. It's pretty insane. It's like, yeah, this, we've anything sexual has been like taboo or made wrong, and it carries this judgment and shame thing. But then if it's like a cold or the flu or this COVID thing, everyone's openly talking about it. And I do find it interesting. Like, one of the things that I say is that there's no such thing as safe sex. There's only safer sex.
it's true.
So when we're choosing to be sexual with someone and have any type of skin contact, there's still a risk involved there. And so it just needs to be addressed either way.
Yeah. Yeah. And it can be a loving, fun, and even playful conversation, right? Like, that's the one thing, there's no one way. And that's my one last little hot tip around having the conversation. The knowing who you are is getting to know, how can I have the conversation. So I'm very blunt. I'm like, hey, I'm Gigi, I have herpes. Like, that's how I come out of the gate, because I love it as the filter system for me. It's just like, if you can't have the conversation around with me, like, you're not my person, because I need openness. I need to be able to have the conversation. But that way is not everyone's way, right? So navigating what's true for you, and that is practice. It's just like, oh, I really want to, that's private information. I really want to get to know someone before I have the conversation. Adding playfulness, like, hey, genital health is important to me. Can we talk about our genitals? Like, that just adds a little playfulness, instead of, can we talk about STIs, or do you have anything, which adds a little bit of stigma and
It
shame.
does. And what people, oh my gosh, this burns me up sometimes because they're like, are you clean? I'm clean.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it's not a clean and dirty situation. Like, what is clean even? What does that mean?
Right.
You
Yeah.
know, so it automatically shames.
Shames. Yeah. Yeah. When people ask me that, I'm
So,
like, well, I took a shower this morning, but I have
right.
herpes. And that doesn't make me dirty. Right? That doesn't make anything wrong with me. Of the 8 strains, I have 5. I've had chickenpox, I have Epstein-Barr, HSV1, HSV2. I had mononucleosis. Like, I'm just the virus likes
Yeah.
GGDNA.
It's part, yeah, it's part of life,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think, just living.
And like, it's confusing because chickenpox is not a sexually transmitted virus, but it is part of the herpes family, and it's in your system forever. And we don't get shamed for chickenpox,
Right.
right? Like, it's such an interesting dynamic. Our genitals just bring up so much shame. And so, you know, you and I are here to reclaim our genitals and
Yeah.
reclaim serenity and pleasure in the world, and we want that for all of you. So
Yeah. And to allow you guys to open up to have this conversation and give
yeah,
you some tips on how. So
yeah,
cool. We're going to keep posting more videos about this.
great. I have a little shame group if you want to come in. We'll post that somewhere. And then Stacie is doing amazing work in the world, so we invite you to reach out and play with us.
Yeah, come play.
Come
And I
play.
will put links in all of the video clips and stuff. So
Great. And don't forget to
awesome.
subscribe to Stacie's channel too.
Yay. Awesome. Well, thank you so much. Yay.